Mr. Fedor, hey, says, hello, Abe. My school didn't meet my expectations and wasn't good in terms of education, so I'm improving myself. Last year I started learning with Blender, then I stopped for a while, but this year I've been working on it seriously. I want to be an environment artist. You're the best teacher, Abe. I hope one day you release environment art course, paid free. We have several free parts of the environment course, the original environment course that I was like trying to create. And there's plans on doing an environment course, so hopefully I'll be able to show you a little bit of those techniques. But yeah, so first impression is that there's only one piece that's really sort of like calling or telling me that I should look at it, and it's this one right here, this Winterfell one. Again, very basic, right? It just feels like super basic, like cylinders, cubes, and things like that. I know that you use stylable textures. I understand the reference. I like the fact that you were able to organize and match the actual like proportions of the castle. But this is not gonna fly in the game, right? Like the only kind of game that this could potentially fly is like an Age of Empire games, and even here, like here's the thing, man. And I know you know this, and again, this is where we need to be very responsible with ourselves. I understand, as you mentioned, that the school did not meet your expectations. But here's the thing: the school is already responsible in fulfilling some specific things, which in this case is teaching you the tools. I understand, and believe me, I have plenty of students who reach out to me and like, hey, Abe, I want to learn from you because like I learned nothing in my school years. I understand. But there's also a responsibility that we have as artists where we need to ask ourselves, okay, how can I make this better? Just one thing, because of course there's many things that we could do to make this thing better. But let me like, if I were to ask you guys, what could we do on this particular piece to make it better? And one of the things that you could be is like, well, why not just play with decals? Let me just add some decals inside of Unreal or inside of like Maya or whatever, just transparent planes with some grunge texture, similar to what we talked about with the with the train station a couple of like minutes ago, right? Just adding a little bit of that everywhere, it's gonna make this piece look way better. Yes, it's gonna take a couple of hours to set this up and to make sure that it feels like appropriate and everything, but if you do that, right, that can push the piece to the next level very, very easily. I'm gonna set this to something like an overlay and then lower the opacity, right? So just adding those little changes right there can make this make this piece go from this very simple CG little environment to something that has a little bit more love into it. Like it is just looking a little bit better. Same thing for the wood. Like I see a lot of wood everywhere, but it's the exact same level of wood. So why not add some damage, some planks that have fallen, like things like that, okay? So that is your responsibility. The school is not going to teach you everything. Not even courses are going to teach you everything. Courses, schools, tutorials, they're going to give you tools. But it's your responsibility as an artist to use those tools to the best of your advantage. People are not going to do the work for you. You need to do the work. You need to put in the time. You need to put in the effort. You need to fail and learn from those mistakes. You need to improve. That's the kind of like focus and mindset that you need to have as an artist. Because if you're expected to be taught absolutely everything and then be handed a job and then be handed like the paycheck and then see your credits on the movie or on the game, that's not how it works. You need to fight for it. You need to have that energy and that passion to really tell yourself, hey, I know these tools. Now, how can I take those tools and make them better? How can I make something that is mine, that is unique to me, that has my voice, right? If you don't have that mindset, this might not be the job or the profession for you, because you're not going to be handed everything. You need to fight for it, okay? So yeah, Fedor, that would be my advice. Like, well, no, actually, we're missing a couple pieces. So this one looks good. I like this one. I do feel like the wood is a little bit saturated compared to some of the other pieces, but I like this asset right here. I think you did a good job on the construction of this one. What we need to see here is we need to see the wireframe, because I'm not seeing the wireframe, and maybe like a clay render or something like that would be quite nice. I like the fact that you did like the normal wheels facing inwards and then missing one wheel. That's great. Because as an environment piece, as a prop, it's good. But it is a simple prop, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, it's just a simple prop. So we do need to go for more ambitious elements. And then this Havana, Cuba streets. Again, guys, I'm gonna repeat it one more time. What's up, Roma? Long time no see, my friend. I'm gonna repeat this one more time, and please, especially if you're starting out, you need to be very critical of your work, okay? So what game matches this sort of like style, this Cuban-like style, the most from recent years? And that's gonna be, of course, Far Cry. I believe it was 6. So look at what they did with the environments in Far Cry 6, okay? And if you go here and you look at what they did, right? I'm not sure if this is the same artist or if this is a fan art or whatever, but at least he's doing a relatively good job here. Sarah. I think this is more like a fan art. Let me see if I can find the actual one. There you go. Something like this. Look at the illumination, okay? It's warm, but it's not like orange. You use the Mexico filter here. So we need to be careful about that. I understand why you wanted to go with this like very orange vibe, but it's important that we don't overdo it, okay? Look at the detail on the cars. Look at the detail on the ground. Look at the detail on the buildings. For instance, here on the buildings, you did something that I would not recommend doing, which is that every single floor on this big building right there, we can see it right here, every single floor has the exact same texture. Same dot right there, same dot, same dot, same dot, same dot. So it looks very repetitive. It's just gonna like give you a very ugly looking building. Same thing here, it's too noisy. Keep it cleaner, and then with decals, with masks, or with other techniques, this is where, again, you need to learn those techniques, and I understand that you might not know all of those techniques, but with those techniques, you're going to be able to generate something that looks a lot better, because right now, I can guarantee we can go to Cuba, and if we look at any building, no building is going to look like this, where the level of detail and the level of damage is uniform across the whole thing. It's just, that's not how it works, okay? So we gotta be very careful with that kind of stuff. And please, again, like temperature-wise, dude, like tone it down, man. Like in this case, for instance, I'm gonna go to highlights. I'm gonna push the highlights a little bit more to the. Like I'm gonna remove some of the information there. Same thing here. And see how I can remove that warmness. I can remove that warmness from the screen, and it still feels warm, right? So this is what we have, and this is without that like effect. I still think that, for instance, here we can remove a little bit of saturation. It feels way too saturated. So I'm going to turn the saturation down. There you go. So look at the difference, right? This looks, again, very orangey, very, very warm. And this one looks a little bit more natural. Even on this one, I think the blacks are way too intense. It's another very common issue. So I'm going to push the levels here, so that we don't have like super strong shadows. We are gonna have strong shadows, but they should never be like pure black. It just like destroys everything, and it makes it very difficult to get something that looks like, again, like interesting. So be very careful there, Fedor. I see that you have the basic understanding. Similar to the previous one, environments can be very ambitious because there's so many things that we need to focus on. Focus on smaller sections first. So I'm gonna give you an example, because I can see that if you focus on a single asset like this one, you do a great job, but it seems like when you try to pick or grab too many things, it becomes more difficult, right? So one thing that I recommend for environment artists is look, for instance, old store facade, right? And try to do a building, but just one building, man. Like something like this, right? Just a corner. It's just a corner of the building. You're gonna have to use the exact same techniques, right? Trim sheets, tileable textures, masking, like there's a bunch of them, but you just focus on one corner instead of the full straight, because if I tell you do the full straight like this, it's the exact same thing 4 or 5 times. So it's very, very important that you don't overwhelm yourself or grab a project that's way, way, way too ambitious when you're starting. Once you have a couple of projects that are a little bit simpler, like again something like this, then you can start like branching out and trying to do things that are a little more ambitious. But you need to prove that you know how to do the simple stuff before you move on to the complex stuff. Okay, I hope that helps.